I'm with Peter Fast from Bridges for Peace. Now, the war has intensified with Israel attacking Iranian nuclear facilities and Iran responding back and firing missiles on Israel. We're seeing rockets hit and destruction in Bat Yam, Tel Aviv. Has Bridges for Peace been out there on the ground helping?
Hey, Paul, thank you for that. Yes, we've actually been at ground zero. Last week we went to Bat Yam, stood right there in the rubble and the debris, taking it all in, looking at the devastation. You know, you can see these things on CCTV footage or people that have filmed it with their phones, but it's nothing compared to seeing what one of these missiles can do when it impacts a civilian center, wrecking, bringing destruction to about 61 buildings and totally destroying 6. And then hundreds of meters in all directions, you have wreckage and destruction from the aftershock. So destroyed windows, broken shutters, broken doors, businesses, the whole front windows of businesses that have exploded, and then enormous piles of rubble. And being at Bet Yam, I was actually there last Sunday, not this past one, but actually the morning it happened. So just hours after it had happened, we were there on site, and it was just an absolute chaotic scene with hundreds of people there. There was media, there was politicians coming there, there's people filming, there's people cleaning up, there's rescue workers. They had full emergency services set up, the Israeli soldiers stationed around there to keep crowds back, police. It was mayhem, but we filmed there on location. We made multiple videos because we want to help. We want to take action.
Have you seen anything like this before?
Nothing like that close up as far as what the damage can be done by a ballistic missile. I've seen destruction on October 9th of 2023, just less than 48 hours after the 7th. Bridges for Peace made our first delivery down south. So when we went down there was missiles flying through the sky. We saw the effects of rockets that had impacted certain buildings, burned cars, things like that. But nothing up close to see that kind of devastation.
Did you get an opportunity to meet the rescue teams that were there in Bat Yam?
Yes. So what we did was first of all, we got a number of interviews by like CBN, ABC. We did interviews of people on the street. But then I think God has just opened up an incredible door. We've been able to work with Lahava, which is a search and rescue organization that's part of the fire brigade. These guys go into very unstable buildings and situations, dig through rubble. And so we've been providing them special tools. Like in the United States, they have the Jaws of Life, which is like a hydraulic cutting machine that cuts through cement and steel. We also have been donating other special drills and equipment. We've also been working with Zaka. So we have donated multiple drones that are specialized drones that can detect people in rubble and they can fly over destruction sites, as well as we bought a number of base lights. These are large, they kind of get set up with a tripod, have a tower with enormous lights to light up a disaster zone for search and rescue. So we've donated a number of those as well.
So this has been a Christian witness within the community, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's the thing is this whole war from October 7th and then the escalation that we're seeing right now, everything that has happened, missiles, Hamas, all of it, they don't distinguish between who's Jewish, who's Christian, and who's Muslim. On October 7th, we saw Muslims getting murdered, Christians getting murdered. Now the primary target was Jewish Israelis, and then people being kidnapped from all kinds of nations, foreign workers being murdered in the orchards or shot. So that's the heart of Hamas, and that's the same thing with Iran. When they send ballistic missiles, Iran is not targeting Israeli military sites. They are, like you said, they are shooting ballistic missiles and sending suicide drones into heavily populated cities. Tel Aviv, Haifa, Beersheba, you mentioned Bet Yam, Rehovot, Jerusalem. And with the total, it's on the... When you look at Israel's response, it's military sites, it's nuclear sites, military bases, ballistic missile factories, drone factories, and targeting key military terrorist leaders. So that, it couldn't be, the stark difference couldn't be more black and white between how this war is being carried out.
Now, when a ballistic missile is fired, there are sirens that go off and there are apps that start going off as well. and it's important to actually get to a bunker. Have you been actually giving out bomb shelters as well to help people?
Yes, since the Iranian war that has started with Israel's preemptive strike on June 13th, we haven't given out a bomb shelter yet, though we have some that we're going to be ordering. Since October 7, 2023, we've donated bomb shelters, many bomb shelters to different communities. In fact, South Africa donated a number of bomb shelters to a community called Rimonim. And so in the attacks that have been happening right now, we actually received photographs of the bomb shelters that we had provided, packed full of Israelis who were taking shelter there. And we had our main contact in Rimonim send us a message that this was just an incredible answer by God, that Bridges for Peace could stand in the gap, bless this community, and that people inside the bomb shelter, although definitely nervous, I mean, it's not like you're on holiday when you're inside a bunker or a bomb shelter. You can hear missiles being intercepted. It's the echoes of booms. And especially with the reality that civilian areas are being targeted, it's unnerving. However, our contact in Rimonim mentioned to us that these people are... Oh, hold on.
What is it?
Yeah, Jerusalem's probably going to be targeted.
So we're at the moment we have a rocket attack.
Yeah. We have a rocket attack. The early warning has just gone off. We have potential missiles.
So are we actually going to go to a bomb shelter now?
Yes, we are.
Right. So we've left the bomb shelter now. Is Israel hurting at this time? And are you bringing comfort and love from Christians from all around the world?
Yes, Israel is hurt. Like I said earlier, Israel is strong, but even someone who is strong can hurt. So it's kind of a combination of the two. Israel is strong, and they're also hurting. They're hurting from being directly attacked. They're tired as a nation from this being dragged out and the longevity of it. They're hurting from how the world has not stood with them and has been either indifferent or completely against them. And so, though they do know that they have friends. And so that's a big part of where Bridges for Peace comes in. And, we're one organization of many. And we all each have our own networks and our partners and our places of operation. But there are millions of Christians on that level standing with Israel. And so we haven't ceased any of our operations. Nobody has gone home since October 7th because of the war. Some people have left, of course, because of the end of their visa or their time, but nobody has left because of the war. And that is actually critical to our makeup. We love and stand with all of the people of Israel in good times and bad times. And at the bad time, when that comes, this is where it really matters. So we've been able to impact the whole country in every facet of how this country operates, from Christian Arabs and doing deliveries to Christian Arabs, to working with the Druze community of Majd al-Shams and others, to working with the Israeli Jewish community, which is our primary focal point, is building relations between Christians and Jews in Israel and around the world, but also standing with the Jewish community around the world against anti-Semitism and educating and partnering with them to offer support. But I think this is what it is. This is real life. This is touching people's hearts, allowing them to see that they're not alone and to experience that. We're not tourists, so we don't just do something nice and leave. We stay here, and I think that sends a very powerful message.
What is your prayer for Israel at this time?
My prayer for Israel is both in the spiritual and in the natural, of what we can see. So my prayer for Israel in the natural would be for this nation to have victory in war over evil, lawless people, and in that victory to bring about a real, true sense of genuine peace and normalcy as much as can be seized. Quality of life and joy, and that families in Israel, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, all Israelis, 10 million people, would be able to experience genuine life, would be able to operate with a genuine life. Enjoy, go to the beach, go on holiday, shop, provide for your families, safe and secure nation. And that also that preservation would extend to the men and women who stand on the front lines to protect this nation. Over 900 soldiers have been murdered fighting against Hamas terrorists in Gaza. And because I don't see Hamas terrorists as normal combatants. This isn't a normal war. And so that's why I choose to use the term murdered rather than they've been killed or fallen in combat. Spiritually, I pray that this nation would turn to God. I pray that God is showing himself. Israelis, millions of Israelis are seeing that. We are seeing the miracles. We are seeing things that shouldn't happen in the natural that are happening, because I read the scriptures and I see God's covenant with Israel, but I also see, David says in Psalm 121 that the Lord God of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. So he does live. He is the God of Israel and the God of this world. And so that's also why Israel values life outside of Israel, because the Lord God of Israel is the God of the world. He does care and love the nations, and people are created in their image. And so I would love to see the truth of who God is flow through this nation. I would love to see Christians and Jews come together, Christians and Muslims come genuinely together, and to build life and see life. One of the things I was just reading the other day is that when times of crisis come, how do we react? Do we react with despair and chaos? Or as people of faith, that's you and I, Paul, do we allow the Lord to basically dig new reservoirs of faith in our hearts? And that allows us to move forward and to grow. And so that is what I pray, is that God would dig new reservoirs of faith in the lives of millions of people, tens of millions in this region, within Israel and outside, and that they would see the face of God and seek truth and seek genuine peace. And that would bring a paradise to this whole region.
What's your website for people who'd like to know more about the work that you do?
Our website is bridgesforpeace.com. You can find us on all social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We are producing videos of showing and demonstrating the work that we do. We do educational teaching, biblical teaching, the Hebraic roots of the Christian faith. Jesus was Jewish. The disciples were Jewish. This was the fertile soil that what we would later call Christianity, what it grew out of. And so we have educational opportunities, volunteer opportunities. We're in 8 nations around the world, but all of this can be found on our bridgesforpeace.com and our social media.
Well, Peter, thank you very much for sharing today.
Paul, it's been very interesting. I always love you and I getting together and chatting, and